Well, hello, friends. I am here with Roseanne Jansen, maybe one of the most, well, no, definitely one of the most fascinating people I've ever known. And not just because of who she is and what she can do, but also her mind and how she sees the world is very cool. I don't know how much we're going to get into today, but I can assure you that it's really going to be an interesting conversation. We actually haven't gotten the chance to talk, just us, in a while. And so I'm really excited about this. So here is my incredible friend, Roseanne, sharing you with her today. So, hello, Roseanne.
Hi, it's nice to be here, Rachel. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So, here, I'll try to describe you for people that don't know you. You are very psychically gifted and you have been your whole life, just like me, but we're a little different in what we perceive and how we perceive it. You've always seen like souls or people's energy as a structure, like you used to call them gems or something
Yeah,
like
yeah, they used to show up as crystals, but now people are showing up in different ways too now. Yeah,
yeah, and like you used to say before you go to sleep at night, you'll see like a portal open and you'll be able to see into different dimensions. And you talked about visiting the planes. And so you've had a more structured view of this extra dimensional reality that we
yeah,
all live in. And you've been a little biblically focused, or at least that's been part of your conversation.
yeah.
And I thought that was fascinating too, because although I'm not super studied on the Bible, I grew up Catholic and I was always really into Jesus. Like I've talked to Jesus and he's a cool guy and he's got a
Yeah.
lot to say. So I was with you there and obviously seeing the benefit of story and parable and whatever else it is. um, but I think right now you're kind of coming to a point where maybe the biblical focus is falling away and you're more or less just seeing the structure of the universe in a cleaner way almost. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff swirling around in my head right now. Because I see the structures of what we call space-time or the vacuum or whatever you want to call it, the ether. Um, I actually see that stuff. Like I actually see the physical structure of it. And I didn't know until just recently exactly what it was that I was seeing, but I see the structure and I see the wormholes and I see them in different scales. And so intuitively, I know of all the possibilities that scientists are just going like, wouldn't it be cool? And what if we could do that? And I'm like, well, yeah, you can do that because I can see it. I grew up Catholic too, and I actually never read the Bible until fairly recently, like in the past few years. And to be clear, I read the Knox Bible, which is apparently somewhat different than the one most people read, the King James. And I was really floored when I first read it about what it actually says in there, and that people weren't talking about it, and that they actually said that they left out a whole bunch of stuff because they didn't think people could handle it.
Mhm.
And then when I got into the unified physics and everything, and Nassim Haramein and his center and stuff has goes into ancient cultures and stuff too, and some of the stuff that was shown there, and I could suddenly see how. And I have to find the right words because I'm not sure exactly how to say these things, but the the actual structure of the way the universe is the universe is or the cosmos is, um, and then how it got warped into a religion,
Mhm.
and the actual meanings of the, like I could see like the pictures, like I could see, like, oh my god, that's the archbishop and that's the way the cathedrals are laid out and that's the way the, and I could see where that came from and how warped it got, and what was truth and clear cut became shrouded in mystery and it just became obtuse and woo-wooified, for lack of any other words, like, you know, uh, just like shrouded, right? Covered up. And that was just like so frustrating. And one of the things I posted one a few weeks ago, something like, who else is tired of being lied to? And I got
Mm,
all these posts, like, yeah, me, yeah, me, yeah, me, yeah, me. And then this one guy goes, I'm awesome, or something like, it amazes me that people are still surprised, or that people still believe what we say, even though we're telling you that we're lying to you.
mm.
And that just is like, at the time it hit me, and then today again it hit me, because basically that's what the Bible said, right? Here you go. And we're lying to you. And it was just like, you
Yeah. Well, you're glowing right now. I mean, your shirt, yes, but
know.
also the plate in the background looks like a planet or a galaxy or something. And it's just like the whole picture of you is like you look cracked open in a way.
Yeah. And so, I have all this stuff floating in my head about, I read, far and wide, one of our BFFs asked for a reading list from me, and I'm like, well, that's really long. uh, but I read so much in different areas, and then it all kind of floats around and comes together. And so one of the things I've been wondering about is, how we play around in the dimensions, and like you said about the planes, and I've been shown all kinds of things, and how much fun, like Intimate Alien and I have had together, and I'm wondering if that's a distraction from a
Mm,
deeper truth. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. And yeah.
I love, love, love that because I'm like a walking contradiction in that way because I feel like as long as I'm enjoying myself, I'm going to go where my highest excitement is, right? Like that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to just follow my highest excitement. And that does include Intimate Alien and having her have a show and like talking about stuff like that. But in the other way, and I am a spiritual being that is a kind of, well, I have a unique experience just like you do, just like everybody does. And so I feel like it's just a part of me. But at the same time, I see a lot of people get into this whole spiritual world and get lost and think they need to know about like different planets and where they're from and like past lives, and they think there's karma and like all this stuff. And I agree with you there, and I think there's no need to know any of that. Like feel good, feel good, feel good, expand. Like that's feel good now. You're connected. But I don't want to take that away from anyone, obviously. But it's just like, yeah, we're here. We're on Earth. We're choosing to be here. Like we brought ourselves here so we can dig in and have fun and do our thing here. And in a blink of an eye, we're gonna be back in non-physical. And so yeah, I think I know where you're coming from, and like we don't have to know all that stuff. Like it's not that it's not true. It can be true, but it's not necessary. I think the point though is once you get around to it, it's just to enjoy yourself and live here. But I don't know,
Yeah.
what were you gonna say?
Yeah. Um, I agree. It's not, like, there's so much that we can play at. There's so many games we can play and so many avenues to explore and stuff. And I think, we all just kind of choose what we are. And certainly you and I have gone through many of them. and and who knows how much more we've got to go, right? There's lots, and it's always expanding. I was thinking, like for us to understand the structure of the world we live in, right? So that we can play effectively in it, right? And then you can choose to enjoy it, right? And you can choose how you want to see it, whether it's a hardship or if it's a joy, or like there's so much recently about we live in the most advanced age that we've ever have been in, and the least war and everything else, and yet so many of us are looking at it like this is horrible time to be alive, right? So it's perspective, right? So we get to choose that, and we get to choose. So we get to choose almost everything about ourselves, if not everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I'm wondering, like, I know you're about enjoyment and fun, and I'm wondering if it's necessary, if enjoying and having fun is a necessary part of making your life the way you want.
Hmm.
That sounds kind of weird when I say it out
No,
loud, but
I like it though, because yeah, I mean, for as long as I've known you, you have been a more quiet enjoyer, right? Like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I guess that's a good question for you to answer. Like, I think you even feel things differently. Like, what is it like for you to feel happy? Is there a physical sensation? Is it more mental? What's it like for you?
Well, what I can tell you is that there's always a deep underlying joy, and
Hmm.
it has nothing to do with. It's a different feeling than happiness, and it's different than excitement. And for me, excitement actually is sort of that overexcited and bubbly thing. That that's like a time bomb for me. And so being more even keel in the outer
Hmm.
works better for me. And then when I'm there, things go smoothly, and things go according to plan or whatever. um, but if I go too far either side of that in the emotional thing, everything just gets really weird. But there's always been that sort of underlying joy. It's way down there, but it's always there. And to me, that's real. And sort of the emotions are just like red herrings. So
So would you call that enjoyment? Like, do you enjoy your life?
it's like it's really hard. That's a hard question to answer because, again, like I can look out and I can feel the deep joy and the deep appreciation for everything. But I have like stupid, weird emotions that seem to have nothing to do with anything. Or it could be because I have hot flashes too. Like who knows?
Yeah. We are a little biological.
Yeah, just a little. But yeah, it seems like that kind of stuff to me gets in the way of my real appreciation of everything and my real enjoyment of everything. Like if I could just move out that part, I'd be great. So,
Cool.
so that's an interesting, yeah. We'll have to somehow resolve those parts.
Yeah, well, when I, an intimate alien, have seen you, like when we see you as your whole being, I mean, we see you as a galaxy, like we see you as a whole entire
Yeah,
thing. And so the fact that just, you know, like here's a little pinprick of you as a human, it would make sense that you're more focused on the bigger part of you, and that's the the work you're bringing to this world as well, like a reconciliation of a lot of our spiritual beliefs and our scientific knowledge. And so it makes sense to me that you keep more of yourself there. And here it's like you've stuck your head under the water for us. You're here, you're looking around, right? But you still more identify with the non-physical.
Yeah.
Is you feel like that?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure how it all translates, and I guess this is another part where I get um, a little bit confused. Is how does it all translate for me into regular life, right? And subsistence and having a business and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That part gets tricky for me.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting about that is you do live here and you're extremely intelligent and capable and helpful. So I think that's translated into you wanting to be of service and of having a business and of like trading
Yeah.
currency, for value. But I'm wondering, since you are so non-physically focused, it's like, are you trying too hard? Do you even need to do that? Is that just a distraction from you poking your head into the water a little bit?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because that's kind of um, what I've come to in the last few weeks is just, I want to say I don't care. So I'll say I don't care about my business.
Yeah, that's okay.
And which to me seems really weird because part of me still wants to care, I guess,
Hmm.
and yet I don't. And so there's a little part of me that does a little freak out thing over here, and but the bigger part of me goes, yeah, chill, we'll be
Hmm.
fine. It's all going to work out.
Yeah.
And but then there's that little part that's freaking
Yeah,
out.
I get it. Because maybe that's just like you're here. So there's obviously a part of you that wants to engage. And it can be scary to just let go of everything and trust that you'll be taken care of.
Yeah, that's exactly that where I'm at now is just letting go of it all, and then just seeing where all the pieces fall and trust it.
Well, it's interesting because when I didn't know you before this. So you booked a reading with me, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't know you.
So it's
And
more than that now.
yeah, I know. And I was like, oh, you're a researcher. And, people can have you on retainer for 10,000 a month and you can just give them the information that they're looking for. And I'm not saying that that could be a new business model for you. I know it's hard to imagine that happening because it's a little foreign to at least even the crew we run with. We don't really know anyone that has that, but I still see that as a possibility for you because you're doing that more than ever right now. You're
Mhm.
withdrawing your attention from the other stuff. And I think you're maybe coming into more appreciation of you as you are and what you do and what you have to offer as being valuable because when you're so different from everyone else, it can be hard to put a value on that because who's looking for that if they don't even know it exists, right?
Yeah, that's interesting because it's like I've been yeah, this anomaly over here and trying to fit into structures that already exist,
Hmm.
and I don't fit.
Yeah.
And I know, when I have thought many times about that reading and how true it is, and yet not able to see it in reality has been difficult, right?
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, and so yeah, but I think it's coming closer. And so the more I let the other stuff fall away, and the more I just go, I'm just gonna do, the stuff that I'm interested in.
Mhm.
And yeah, and then if you want to know, if you want to know it, then call me.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
are you putting any of this into your magazine? Are your new revelations going to be in there?
they will be. This next issue that's coming out will be quite a bit different than the first ones.
Nice.
Um, it's interesting. In January, I got the download about the magazine and the structure for it, and then again, I went with, oh well, it has to be a magazine. It has to look like this, and it has to yada yada yada. And then finally, this last month, it's like, no, it doesn't. It gets to look the way I want it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now it will. Yeah.
Awesome. So it's the Expanding Consciousness Journal, right? Or
No,
Conscious Evolution.
Conscious Evolution Journal. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
okay. So RoseAnn is the founder of the Expanding Consciousness game
Yeah.
and the Conscious Evolution Journal. So go to revealyourlife.com and you can find out about everything.
Yeah. So the magazine is going to have much more focus on my insights, and also um, what I really wanted it to be about was a place for people like us, to actually say what we think and what we discover and what we know. And so I'm really excited that you're going to write for it too this month or
Yeah.
this next issue. It's pretty exciting.
Thanks. I'm excited to read it.
Mm.
Yeah. There's there's a lot more. You know, it's funny. When I watch celebrities talk about their lives, a lot of times they dumb it down because they know that the most of the people watching are not in the same position as them. You know, they'll be like, "I'm so grateful. I'm taken care of right now, and I know it's harder out there, and I know, like, you know what I mean." They are talking to make themselves not a target because their life is a lot easier than most people's right now.
You listen to athletes. It's like they have a script. Like part of becoming a professional athlete is memorizing the script of what to say to reporters.
That's funny. Yeah, and I feel like we tend to do that too in a way. Like
Hmm.
I don't talk about how effortless and awesome my life is all the time because I feel like either people would just not want to hear it or they would, I don't know. I mean, it's probably not even true, but I like the idea of your journal of like people just being able to say their truth and share what they've learned and all that.
Yeah, I think it's time. I think it's high time.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything else going on in RoseAnn world?
I want to know about Rachel's world now. We haven't talked for a long time.
Yeah. Well, Rachel's world is interesting. I'm learning about screenwriting right now. I'm in a professional class with other actual TV writers. And I feel like after this class, I will be ready to pitch my pilot to networks. And I'm really excited about that. And I've been doing some more work recently just to line up with that to make that as easy as possible. And of course, they're looking for this already. And I found myself a really good community of other entertainment professionals. And so I've been meeting producers and agents and writers and all that. And it feels natural now. I feel like I'm a part of it, which is great. You know, that's what you want. You want your dream to feel like the next logical step.
Hmm.
I've also been doing more with Intimate Alien and getting the impulse to really amp it up. I have the Ask an Alien show, which you basically created with me, except we didn't call it that at the time. You guys, I'm sure you know RoseAnn from all of her Q&A videos with Intimate Alien. And yeah, I think I'm gonna start like letting her guide my life in certain ways to like make fun YouTube videos, and we're just gonna have a lot more fun with it. And
Mhm.
yeah, she's writing a book right now, which is cool too. Yeah.
And so you have said you're comprised of 5 aliens. What about the others? Like we only hear about intimate aliens.
I know. Well, because she's like, she requested more human time. Like, she wanted to be here as herself, and none of the other really care. they they could care less. We meet up kind of on their terms, and they're always inside. Like, they're where they want to be. So
So
that's
they're
really
just quietly experiencing vicariously through intimate alien in you, right?
yeah. They get what they want. Well, back when I started my online business in like 2011, 2012, my angelic partners, they came out a lot more. But after a couple of years, it just like kind of switched over to her. So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So do you ever like channel your galaxy self?
You know, I for the first time today, I had that thought that I should channel something,
Mm,
and I was like, "What? What should I channel?" I don't want to really channel a being, or like
mhm.
who's that person you listen to? I forget. I can't think of the name on YouTube.
Abraham?
Abraham, yeah. And I know a couple other people who channel things like that, but I didn't really want to do that. But channeling my galaxy, I'm gonna write that one down.
Yeah, that would be really interesting.
Yeah,
I have a galaxy um, that RoseAnn has visited before,
yeah,
and it was
great.
really fun. I
Yeah,
could only, and yours is so different. Like, I can feel it. It would be really fascinating to see. It's a whole different kind of galaxy. Like, I don't even know enough to know what kind it is, but it's a different kind.
yeah. There's many. Yeah. What I've been like really interesting now, like we talk about the expanding universe, and we're always expanding and everything, and when you get into the known physics of it now, like there are unlimited, because basically every the tiniest bit of the universe creates a vortex, and new a new universe can come from that. So there could be trillions, and an infinite, like mind-boggling number of universes out there. And I forgot where I was going with this, but there's a actually that kind of circles around back to the beginning, where we could get really lost and distracted in exploring all of this.
Mhm.
And so yeah, on the one hand, I wonder if it would just be so cool to explore everything, and on the other hand, is it distracting us from something deeper? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it depends on how you see why we're here, right? Like, I see why I'm here is to experience myself. So I'm here to experience myself as a physical being. And I'm going to do whatever feels good to me. I'm going to use that as my pointer of where to go, what's worthwhile to see. So if I'm called in a direction, I'm going to go there. And if it feels good, I'm going to stay. And if I feel satisfied, I'll be called somewhere else. So I think as long as exploring is, interesting or gratifying in some way, then that's exactly where the deep stuff is, you know?
Mm, yeah, yeah, right. Mm, all right.
Yeah. I did that today. So even I was hiking this morning, and there was a loop around a lake that I went to, but then there were all these side trails that weren't marked, and I just thought, "Ooh, that looks really interesting," and I have time, so I'm gonna go on these side trails. And it brought me far away from the trail, and I didn't know where I was, and I kept finding all these little campsites, and I thought, "Oh wow, this is really cool," and there's no one over here, and it's completely, it was just a really gratifying experience. And I had a map on my phone, so I wasn't worried about getting lost. And it was just like, was that a distraction or no, it wasn't a distraction to me. It was
Yeah.
exactly what
And
was enlivening me.
yeah, and enrichment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So when you follow what feels good to you, I guess it would depend on how much you know yourself, um, or the state of your emotions. Because sometimes, like, I guess my question is, can you be, can you go somewhere and then, or in some direction and think this doesn't feel good, and actually it's just your emotion being in the way, and it's just something that you need to deal with so that you can go on in that direction? How do you tell the difference?
So I like to break it down to an intuitive decision versus an emotional decision, like you're talking about. I think it's possible to have an intuitive yes and an emotional no, and
Yeah.
vice versa. And I think you're right. In that case, you really just need to know yourself and rely on having built up the right kind of momentum beforehand. I think it's possible to have enough momentum to bring you through an emotional no. So, like when I was going to go buy my RV, I had been looking for a long time. I knew what I wanted. I went to go see it. And then when I got there, it was like I was terrified. I mean, my whole brain was saying, no, 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 no. And I test drove it, and it was so terrifying. Like the steering wheel would go like that. And anyway, I had a chance on the way back to her house. She was driving, and I got to close my eyes and ask, is is this my, is this my yes? Is this my RV? And I got a big yes. And so I think we just need to know ourselves enough to check in and see, is this my path? Is this my yes? Or is this my no? And to learn that sometimes our emotions are going to be misrepresentative, and maybe they're going to be amplifying some fear that we have. But I also think that it's not a huge deal. If you go down a path, it doesn't end up turning out that well. Like if it was like a false yes or something, then it's no big deal and you just pick up from there.
I love that. I love that answer. You hear that a lot from top entrepreneurs and stuff too. It's like, yeah, you're going to make tons of mistakes. you
Yeah.
just you just course correct and go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. It's a healthier way of looking at things too. Yeah, I think a big, like you said, a lot of it is knowing yourself. And one thing that has been very interesting for me, being in an emotional roller coaster and at the same time realizing that I'm getting everything that I've ever wanted,
Mm.
which is kind of the opposite of what most people are teaching, right? You know, like you have to be positive thinking and you have to, yeah, you can do this and that and be this and that in order to get what you want. And I'm like, no, you don't. You just have to know what you want. All the rest is extraneous. To That's my experience so far, right?
Mhm.
And so that's been like hugely interesting. And on
Right.
that note, I think that's probably
Mhm.
that's probably it.
So that's interesting. And maybe it's your makeup, maybe it's how you are so different from most people. Or maybe it's just like, so from my view, and I've definitely heard what you're talking about, but you just can't be resisting that thing that you want, right? Like there are a lot of really unhappy billionaires,
Yeah.
right? But they're not resistant to making more money.
Yeah.
So it's for you, it was more of like a segmented thing. Like you were not resistant to those things that you knew you wanted, but there was just something else happening.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy that that happened for you. The good
Yeah.
part anyway, the not the roller coaster part.
Well, the roller coaster is its own interesting part too, right? Because I've talked about it before, like can be the observer and watch myself playing in this emotional roller coaster, right?
Yeah. And I've
And
been in
laughing at myself.
where like I've been, some of the hardest times in my life, I've had that recognition of that inner smile always present. Like there's a part of me that's really enjoying it, and like knows everything is okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, maybe you've experienced this. So it seemed like on our call today, a lot of people were experiencing like either an integration or you like a period of intense revelation or, learning. And 2 weeks ago, I had this experience where I felt like completely disoriented and like I was like receiving more of myself or like having a bigger integration of who I am. And during that day, I mean, I was in like a complete fog, but I also felt like I was on laughing gas. Like it was an enjoyable experience. I just couldn't concentrate on anything and I
Hmm.
couldn't recognize my neighbor. Like it was very strange. Um, so it's interesting that it's all happening to us now. When you're looking into the science of the structure of the universe and everything, is this stuff accounted for? Is there change in the structure when this seems to be a pattern?
Yeah, there's more that I don't know yet. And I want to go further into things that Buckminster Fuller was talking about, because when he said that he now I won't get this exactly right, but sort of like he had a failed business with his father-in-law, and he was going to kill himself, and then at some point he felt that he was raised up by a white sphere. I think it was a sphere, and he heard that your life does not belong to you don't have the right to extinguish yourself. Your life does not belong to you, it belongs to the universe. And at first I thought, oh. And then, the ego, right? Going, I certainly do, everything belongs to me. Um, but then, I was walking outside and I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Like, that's so true. That's like, I could feel the whole truth and expansiveness of that. And it really changed something for me. Like in physics, they talk about the feedback and feed forward loop being that you feed into the knowledge of the entire um, Mandelbrot set or whatever, and through the wormholes, and that everything feeds back to you too. So as whereas before I was thinking about it as a feedback in time and a feed forward in time, having the switch in perspective to feeding the all and the all feeding into this wormhole, um, it made so much more sense, and it made that statement more meaningful, because this mass here, we all know it, like that we affect everything. But having that visual in my head of the direct what I do going through the wormholes to everyone else, and what they do coming to me, and all this being recorded in the quantum field in the vacuum, it matters. We all matter, right?
Hmm.
And if I want to see the world the way, or if there's enough of us who want to see the world in a certain way, then we better step up and be that and act like that. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
I love that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about Buckminster Fuller. I just know about his work after that, but my cat's named after him, so I should definitely go read more about it. That sounds really fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a fascinating guy. I can't wait to read more. And I'd like to read his books too, which I think might be a bit of a slog to get through, but I think it'd be well worth it.
Well, this has been really fascinating, RoseAnn. I'm so glad we got to talk.
Yeah,
And
me too.
I feel like we should definitely do a round two and maybe talk more about how we see the world. Like, I want to know more about how you see the world and how it's changing and what you feel about the future and psychically, like what are you noticing when you're tapping into people, and like what would you want people to most know? Like I have so many more questions for you. Even though this isn't an interview, I would like to interview you more.
Sure, I'm game for round two.
Awesome. Cool. Well, is there anything you want to close with, or are you good?
No, I think I just kind of put the ball out there for everybody to step up. So I'll leave it at that.
I know that's really big. I love that. The whole be the change you want to see in the world. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
That's exactly it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it absolutely is true right now, right?
Yeah. And lately we've been talking a bit about bravery or confidence in doing that, because it's a nice thing to think about. And we can think about how we've already been doing it in certain ways. But when we have that next impulse of, oh, I want to be this, I want to do this, I want to see this, there can be a little hesitation, at
Mhm.
least for me. I don't know if you experience that.
Mhm.
Um, but I have been more inspired to be braver lately. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, our friend Cynthia, her and I had done this little video years ago, and she she pointed out that in that video I had said, I just want to be able to say what I want to say,
Hmm.
right? Uncensor myself.
Yeah.
And in the last few weeks, her and I have been talking about uncensoring, and in relation to the magazine and that sort of thing. And it was like, geez, why don't I just do it already?
I
And I
know.
and it's interesting because Facebook shut me down because I forgot and didn't play by their rules. And but it turned out to be, as things always do, a blessing in disguise. Because then from that, I decided, like, I don't want to play that anyway. I just want to say what I want to say. And so I'm going to just say what I want to say over here. And it's
Hmm.
interesting because every single time I post what I want to post and say what I want to say, I get new followers on
Hmm.
Instagram. This is all on Instagram now, even though it's still owned by Facebook. Uh, um, and I get comments and I get likes, and like all kinds of things are happening, and I get sales and things. And all I've done is stop censoring myself.
Hmm. I
So
love that. And what's your Instagram for all those people who want to follow you now?
I've actually got three. I've got one in my name, RoseAnn Jansen, and one in Reveal Your Life, and the Conscious Evolution Journal.
Nice. Okay, cool. I have to make sure I'm following all three.
I think you are.
Okay, good. I know Intimate Alien is following a few too.
Yeah.
Um, she really likes your content as well. So it's Intimate Alien approved for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure you guys have your own relationship too. I know she visits you, and you guys have your little talks.
Mm.
But Yeah, thank you for being my friend, and thanks for sharing yourself with all of us here today.
And thank you for being my first mentor to really help bring this out.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, Roseanne, we will talk again soon. Thanks everybody for watching. If you have any questions for Roseanne for round two, you can put them below. And yeah, until then, have a great time in your investigations.
Thank you. It's been awesome being here and talking.
Thanks.